Good evening. Thanks for coming out on this cold, wintry night here. Tonight we're going to talk for a little while about use of digital resources for carving. So is it social media? Sure. Is it just pictures? Sure. Is it YouTube videos? Yeah, a little bit of those. In fact, we're going to talk about 4 different resource types. We're going to talk about static images or screenshots. We're going to touch base on use of Pinterest. How many of you have ever heard of Pinterest or use it? Yeah, your wife gives you stuff to do on it, projects to do on it if you're like me, right? Pinterest is just a wealth of information. It's unbelievable. And if you organize some boards, you can store things. You can actually find things again afterwards. And we're going to talk about Facebook groups, which I find specific things that are really useful and worthwhile. And then the mother lode of information is YouTube videos. There are literally thousands and thousands of carving videos on YouTube. Now, what types of carving we're going to talk about, I'm going to touch base on 4. The first one is sticks and canes. Second one is cottonwood bark, caricatures, and then relief carving. And there's probably endless additional types that are out there, but those are 4 that I've looked at in the past and I've found useful things on. The very first thing, and talking with a couple of you out here, you know, we could dive into YouTube videos and things, but the simplest thing there is just keeping still pictures, okay? And the simplest way to do that is with that device that you're probably carrying around all day long in your back pocket, okay? The first thing you want to do if you're going to commit to using digital images of any kind is figure out how to take a screenshot on this phone. If you haven't looked it up, Google it, look it up. I can tell you on an Apple device, it's as simple as holding down the home button and the power button simultaneously. Just a quick shot like that, and it makes a little copy of the picture right down here. You tap on that, you tell it you want to save it to Photos, and that ends up in the Photos app on your Apple device. Now, if you're carrying a different kind of device, I don't know how to do it. But I do know that you can Google it and look it up and find it. So if you're anything like me, you go scrolling through things and you look at 100 or 200 images and you go, man, that one thing that I saw would be really helpful. Where did I see that? No idea. So just capture it with a screenshot, stick it in your Photos application, then you pull that thing up, and I have about 9,000 pictures and videos on here. And some of them aren't my grandkids, but an awful lot of them aren't, okay? The rest are usually carving videos. If you organize them into albums, you can find things again afterwards. The second thing that I hear people talk about is I can't follow videos and carve because I'm carving along and all of a sudden my screen turns black. You've got an auto security function set up, especially if your device was ever a company device someplace. But you can turn that off. You can set that to never. Right now mine is set at 2 minutes. After 2 minutes of inactivity, it goes black. But if you go into your settings and then look for display and screen, there's a sliding scale in there of how many minutes you want until that turns off to black. Set it to never. Then you can literally sit there and for 3 hours look at the same video and it won't go black on you, okay? So 2 things just to prepare your device, and actually talking with folks, I found those 2 things have stopped them from trying to use digital content. Number 1, know how to take a screenshot. Number 2, turn off your screensaver and it'll be easier to use digital content. Okay, speaking of digital pictures, an unbelievable source of those is on your search engine. Most people use Google. I hate Google, but lots of people use Google. And if you go to Google and search for a topic, for example, when Karen Brown was trying to teach me how to paint this wolf, she gave me a book and she told me I had to do 14 layers of paint on it. I only ended up with 7, so I only got halfway to her expectations. But which layers and things, I looked at literally hundreds of images of wolves, and I tried to get them to find how his head should be tilted and how his back end ought to be, because the cutout actually was a horse that I started with, and trying to turn him into a wolf, I had to keep sculpting him a little bit. But looking at those digital pictures on there, I went in and I just searched for wolf, or wolf pictures, or standing wolf pictures, or howling wolf pictures. And one thing you will see when you do that is I know you can't see this, it's too small, but I'll point out one little thing to you. When you search up here, I just searched for wolf. Right below that search line, there's what do you want to display on Google. It defaults to everything, all, okay? Right next to it is images. So if you search for wolf, drop down one line here, click on images, it's nothing but pictures in your search results, okay? And it just fills up your screen with pictures of the things that you're looking for. Really, really easy and helpful. Now, I said I hate Google, and I do. I don't like how it tracks you. So I use DuckDuckGo. I don't know if any of you have used that or ever heard of it, but it's an alternate search engine. Yes, it is an app. You have to download it. I actually don't use it as an app. I use it as a website. So you can just go to duckduckgo.com, pull it up, and you can search from there. It operates exactly like Google, but it saves no data, okay? So if I search for wolf now, close out, go back and search for wolf, it doesn't know that I did it before. Google, you go part way in and it would immediately fill it in because it knows you've done it before, because it saves the data, which is very valuable to advertisers, and it's a time saver for you. I personally just don't care for it. So I use DuckDuckGo, but it operates exactly the same way. Interestingly, that line down there with images is set up exactly the same way. I'm sure there's been some lawsuits between these two before. But if you want to do a search and you're just looking for pictures, go into any search engine, pick it up, hit images, and you're golden, okay? Now, examples of things where I've done following videos, okay? I mentioned this. I did painting of this along with unbelievable advice from many of you, Karen especially. But to find the right kinds of colors and look for the things I was looking for, I just got endless pictures of that. Another example of something that I used a bunch of still pictures for. This was actually a cutout that Fidencio left in the carving room. And it was just a plain bandsaw cutout. And I didn't have any idea what to do with it, so I went and I searched for a ton of pictures. And I figured out maybe what his head might look like. And I figured out what side wing feathers might look like. And please understand, nothing I'm showing you today is to show you magnificent carvings. None of these hold a candle to what you artists do out there. But they're all something that I've used some kind of digital information for to do, okay? So I did this, and then my wife actually saw another picture of one floating on a pond, and she said, hey, stick him on a pond. So I cut out a little pond and painted him blue. And then I used a couple pieces of driftwood that Norm gave me one day in the carving room, and lo and behold, this guy pulled out of there. This is actually another cutout that I got from Norm. In fact, it still says Norm on the bottom, which it always will, because I love the fact that it's from Norm. But it's, you know what a cutout looks like, right? It had a big knob up on top, and it was all blank, and it was a rough cutout. And no pictures or anything accompanying it. I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. So I went and I pulled a bunch of pictures of cowboys. And I did wood carving cowboys. And 99% of them, of course, didn't relate to this at all. But I got the idea of putting, you know, a fleece collar on him, and I got the idea of a bandana, because this was all just flat. And eventually, I did some color things with him and some painting with him, and this is what came out. And so that was the result of a bunch of individual pictures, flat pictures of things as well. And then the last thing I'll show you, I like to make canes, especially right now. Tomorrow I'll be 8 weeks into a knee replacement, by the way, so the canes are functional for me. I made this maple one and put a walnut piece on a handle on the top here, and eating breakfast with a friend of mine, he says, you're going to have to get some Lion's grit on there somewhere as you're going to be limping around with this knee replacement. So I went and Googled some Lions logos and the word grit like they do it, printed them off on my printer, taped them on here with a piece of carbon paper behind it, transferred them on, burned around the edges, and painted them, okay? And so that's just the result of some individual pictures of things as well. And there's endless ways that you can use that stuff. Okay, beyond individual pictures, Pinterest is something that has millions and millions of images and instructables. I don't know if you've ever found an instructable online. It's a how-to. It tells you how to start something, how to replace the gutters on your house if they're leaking or something. If you go into Pinterest and search, in my case, I have a summer projects board for my wife. I have a crap my dad needs to see board from my daughter. I've got a can't make this stuff up board from a friend of mine. And we can all post to those boards individually. But when I'm looking for something, I set up a wood carving patterns board. And a board is just a folder, okay? So when I find a picture of baby Groot on there, I decided to put him in there. I find some pictures of swans in there, I put those in there because I've got a great big swan that Dick gave me that I have to figure out how to carve him next. But again, after I search through all of that stuff, just save that stuff off into a wood carving board, put sticks in there, you can put anything in there. It's a particularly rich board, interestingly enough, for cottonwood bark. I don't know why, but there's a heck of a community on cottonwood bark in Pinterest. Things that that I found in there. This stick is a little bit different, and this claw handle ball top on the top is a picture I ran across in Pinterest one day, and there's no how-to or anything. I just thought, well, that's kind of a cool thing, so I saved that in there, and then I got a copper fitting from Menards out of the plumbing department to put a little decoration on the thing, and ended up with a little different kind of a cane, all from a Pinterest idea. Okay? Moving along, Facebook groups. How many of you have a Facebook account or scroll or find out what your grandkids are doing or your sister-in-law in Minnesota is up to or whatever? One of the groups that I follow and find to be particularly active, about 25 posts a day, walking sticks, handmade sticks and canes on there, okay? Like any other affinity group, there's a bunch of people, thousands of people that like the same things. And, oops, my little sticker off of there. And so that group I find to be particularly useful. This happens to be one that I got from there. It's a simple little thing. I call it my pretzel cane. Little kids think it looks like a pretzel. Just the idea of running a spiral around the thing is one that I got from there. They have many more sophisticated things on there as well. I tend to gravitate toward the simpler things because that's just kind of who I am. In addition to the handmade sticks and canes, there's walking sticks, canes, and more. And an example on there, I found a little more wood burning kind of things there. So once again, just a maple stick with a little spalted maple handle on it. But in this particular case, I decided with the knee replacement coming up that the greatest adventure is what lies ahead might be helpful for me one day. And then I put on the other side, little by little one travels far. So the idea of wood burning things on there like that, again, I just went into my computer, typed it out in a Word document, found a font that I liked, made it in a size that I liked, cut it out, taped it on the side of the stick with some carbon paper behind it, transferred it out onto there, and then wood burned it. Okay? It's not difficult. You have to find carbon paper. That's the hardest part. Okay, another group that I follow on Facebook and is really, really active is cottonwood bark. In that case, there are people that do highly sophisticated things, some of which look similar to the incredibly artistic things that you folks tend to do. I tend to find simpler things that I can pick out of a chunk of bark. This one I liked because it just had this oddball kind of slanted squirrely top on the thing a little bit. And this one I wanted to do some carve throughs so that I could put light behind it, and I also experimented with throwing a little paint on it too. So you can find things like that or any one of 500 other things that are on there on a constant basis. Now again, if I find something I like, I'll pull it up on my device, take a screenshot, stick it in my photos. Okay? You can do that from any online application. You can do it from images. You can do it from anywhere. Okay? Another one that Facebook group that I like is also bark. Tends to be more wood spirit oriented. It's tree beard carving. And so in that case, finding green man kind of things is a little more their specialty on there. Now in some cases, these guys will be chainsaw carving in a 12-foot high stump out in somebody's front yard, okay? In other cases, they're making things that are 2 inches tall. There's an awful lot on this particular site that kind of looks like this. So this is my first venture and attempt in trying to make a green man, okay? And then I painted him green so that I could tell the difference. Another Facebook group with a different kind of content is not hard to figure out the content because it's called caricature carvers, okay? Caricature carvers runs a massively wide range of types of content. In this particular case, a couple of things that I also have seen in a wood carving illustrated book I found on that same site. I got a couple of little gnomes here that are standing on a hollow log with some eyes underneath. I think the raccoons are underneath in the hollow logs. My daughter loves gnomes, and so I made a couple of these little things. Caricatures, as you're well acquainted, can be pretty sophisticated, can be whole scenes, Wild West scenes and different kind of things, or they can be simple things like this. I tend to pick the simple things because that's what I can maybe carve. But Caricature Carvers Facebook group has a tremendous, that's another one with 30 or 40 posts a day, okay? Constantly scrolling content in that particular group. One last Facebook group is actually an organization, the International Association of Wood Carvers, IAWC, okay? And there's some well-known people on there that run it. And there's well-known people that sign into it. One of the things I'm impressed by IAWC is every Saturday at 3 o'clock, they have a Zoom seminar, free. You don't have to be a member of the group even. So they've got the dial-in number on their Facebook posts all the time. And you pull up, and somebody might be doing Christmas ornaments if it's a season, or they might be doing whatever specialty they have. It can be any kind of a carving. But that unique feature that they've got where that group runs a Zoom seminar, it's an hour long, every Saturday at 3 o'clock, makes that a site that I find particularly useful. They also post it on YouTube afterwards. So if you can't see it, or if you want to be able to try and carve it afterwards, then you can go to YouTube and you can just start and stop it like you do any other video. Okay?